were 200 people in the room. I was on one side of the room. It was dark. They couldn't see me because I was behind a facade. There was a fantastic stand-up comedian on stage. I could hear the crowd laugh. I was holding a cup of coffee in my hand, and my hands were shaking. Just then the programming guy came and said, 5 minutes to stage. You know, my mom used to be in the same school where I studied. My brother was also in the same school. And while it was overwhelming at times, but you know, just because I was there, every teacher knew me. So in class 8th, my English teacher walked up to me and she said that you have to participate in the school debate. So I said, okay. My mom was superbly excited with that idea. So when I came back home, there was almost a mini celebration at home because I was participating in a school debate. I couldn't understand why. I had no idea why everybody was so happy. But then I had seen students go up on stage and, you know, do the debate bit. And I always, from an audience perspective, felt that they were stars. So I thought, okay, fine, this might be the moment for me to be the star, right? So everything was set. I was given 3 weeks to prepare, and there was a topic around India's economic situation, which I had no idea about. But I started preparing. Now my dad, who would normally not interfere with my studies or take too much interest in what I was doing, he was also a PhD in economics, so he took special interest because the topic was around economics. And he started helping me in terms of preparation for the debate. And so it happened, he gave me 3 pages of written material on the debate. I couldn't understand a word of it. I think at a tender age of 14, I suddenly majored in economics just reading those 3 papers. But then I started preparing, all right? So every evening when I would come back home, you know, the family would be sitting together having their tea, and they would ask me to narrate the debate. So I made a lot of excuses in the beginning, first few days that I won't do it. Eventually I gave in. The day I narrated for the first time, my family was sitting and I finished and they cheered. I think that was the first time in my life where I said something and got an applause back as a return. And it was almost like a drug, you know, it was almost intoxicating. I wanted that again. So, you know, the preparation started. Every evening I would come home and narrate the debate. And you know, at some point, my mom told me, she said, your voice is very good. My dad told me specifically that, you know, you got to focus on certain aspects of the debate. My brother told me, you're going to win, period. You're so good, you're going to win. So I got even more excited. Then I would stand on my bed and I would hold a broomstick in my hand. I would pretend as if there's an audience sitting, and I would narrate the debate day after day for 3 weeks. And then the D-Day came. I was standing backstage. There were a lot of other students there, but I was getting special attention from the teachers and the principal because I was Mrs. Nirmal Singh's son, right? So the principal came and he patted me on the back. He said, best of luck. Then my name got announced, right? As I was walking up the stage, I was looking at the audience. It was like a full assembly, full of students, right? So I was looking at all of them, and for some strange reason, they were all smiling. I guess I was the teacher's son, right? So in fact, I could see my entire batch cheering. I could see my brother's batch cheering. I could see the batches that my mom taught cheering. And I walked up to the stage. I held the mic and I started. Respected principal, teachers, wait, there is something wrong. Why is there an echo? Can they hear me? Because I can't hear myself. And then I stood. I thought something was wrong with the mic. Now there were 400 students sitting there, 45 teachers, my brother, my mom, and I froze. And I forgot everything. I could hear a few students giggling in the front row. And I just stood there. And I realized that there was no way that I would be able to remember it. So I stood there for about 60 seconds. And before the first teardrop fell, I just said sorry and I walked off the stage. There was nothing wrong with the mic. It was just my first interaction with the mic. I didn't know how it behaved. But as I walked down, I remember, and even today, every time I hold the mic for the first time, when I come up on stage, when I say something for the first time, I always remember that moment when the echo happened. I remember my mom's face, because I looked at her when that happened. And she had that reassuring smile on her face. Go on. Right? I keep looking for my brother. Now, every time when I get up, I get the applause, I get the cheer, and I just hope that my brother and mother could hear it because I really disappointed them when I was 14 years old. I looked down at the coffee cup. At this time, I knew how the mic would behave. We were 4 minutes to the stage. Now in school, we were part of the football team, the junior football team. Right? So every single day, we would go and practice. Right? We would reach the school at about 6:30 a.m. and then we would go for football practice. And we would watch the legends play, our senior football team. Right? Now, the senior football team, if you guys know this, then you would know that there used to be this thing called inter-school zonal tournaments. Right? So there was this inter-school zonal tournament that year, and our senior team lost in the finals. A week later, our tournament was supposed to start. Now, we were a bunch of average players, right? We were a very, very average team. But something happened that year. We wanted to get the cup. We wanted to do it for the team, for the senior team. I wanted to do it for my brother, who was in the senior team. So we went through the tournament, first round, second round, third round, quarters, semis, and then we reached the final. We played like a brilliant team, and we reached the final. Now the final was with a team which was one of the toughest teams in Delhi at that point of time. And we reached their school, it was enemy territory, so we reached their school to play the finals. Now as we were there preparing before the match, we saw a bunch of these very senior guys, okay, big burly guys, almost 6 foot tall coming in. We thought that was the senior team. Apparently that was the junior team. Right? So as they walked in, we were, sometimes they say, right, that matches are lost even before, won or lost before you even enter the field. I guess it was almost that kind of a feeling, but then we were so sure of ourselves that we said we're going to take this on. So the match started, and so did the blows. We got it on our knees, we got it on our ankles, we got it on our shoulders, and there were 200 students around the ground who were cheering and booing, cheering for them and booing for us. We kept at it, right? First half, we kept at it, we kept playing, we kept taking the blows, we kept defending. And then from one stroke of luck happened, where their defender made a very, very stupid mistake. Right? Our center forward caught that moment, took the ball, went past one defender and scored. Now, we had seen enough football matches to know how a celebration of a goal happens. But that team was different. Even though we were in 9th class, we were different. We just quietly walked back to the center line. It was almost like we were instilling fear in them. Halftime score, 1-0. Now, there were no phones at that point of time. Right? I'm dead sure there was no WhatsApp groups, etc. kind of a thing. I don't know how the message went out to the rest of the school because we didn't hear a public announcement. But by the time the second half started, there were 500 students around the ground. Now they were collectively booing us every time we would touch the ball. If we were near the sidelines, we were getting abused. We were in fact getting threatened that we would get beaten up after the match. So we were not only getting intimidated by the 11 on the field, we were getting intimidated by the 500 around the ground. Eventually we gave in. We became defensive. We said, just hold on to the lead. Just take the blows, hold on to the lead, we will win this one. And then somewhere in the 70th minute, we made the mistake. I was in the forward line. I could almost see those guys moving from the left. It was a brilliant move. Absolutely brilliant. It was almost like poetry in motion. I saw them move towards my goal. And then they slipped one past the goalkeeper. 1-1. In 5 minutes, they scored the second one. 1-2. We were scared then. But then with some 15-year-olds, something magical happened. It happened in the way we looked at each other. I remember going up to the referee. I remember asking him how much time is left. And he said 10 minutes. And then one of our weakest players made a slide to bring the big burly 6-footer down. And we knew we had it in us. So we started attacking. Move after move, we went there to the D area. We kept going, kept going, kept going. They kept defecting. Their entire school started clapping and cheering and booing us. Last few seconds were left. Our midfielder got the ball, he passed it on to me. I moved on, and then I passed it on to a center defender who did a center forward, who did a perfect one-to-one move, and then put the ball in front of me. There was one defender only left. I was outside the D area. I tackled past him, and then there was just the goalkeeper left. I was still outside the D area. From the corner of my eyes, I could see those two defenders running towards me. There was nobody to pass. I was alone, outside the D area. You know, in school practice, every single day, we would take around 10 rounds of the ground with bricks in our hand. Then we would play a 45 minutes match. And then after that, the forward line would take these shots from outside the D. Right? Every single day, we would take about 20, 30 shots outside. And we would know when their foot hit the ball perfectly. Right? You know it at that moment. It's a great shot. I had no other option. I was alone. So I decided to take the shot. So I tapped the ball in front of me. I took one look at the goalkeeper and I went for the far post. Boom. Perfect shot. I could see that almost in slow motion. The ball was going, it was rising, it was rising. It just rose an inch more than it should have. Hit the top post, went outside. The whistle blew, we lost 1-2. I let the team down that day. There was another team sitting in the audience, my team. I was going up on stage one more time. I looked down at the watch. 3 minutes to stage. Now in school happened, college happened, marriage happened, kid happened, and then corporate life happened. After 18 years of corporate life, one fine day I went to see this movie called Tamasha. The very next day, I resigned to follow my passion. Now, I don't know whether it was Tamasha or not, because I used to enjoy corporate life, right? I used to have fun. I always had a great corporate life. I had good roles, good managers, good money. There was nothing wrong. It was almost like, sometimes you go to this movie, not a movie, let's say a party, right? And you're enjoying yourself, you're dancing and you're having fun. And then you step outside that hall. Let's say go to the balcony and you have that moment of peace with you. An absolute quiet, peaceful moment. And then you think to yourself, why am I enjoying this now? Because I was just having fun inside. So it was almost like that for me in corporate life. Right? I used to enjoy that, but then there was something missing. So was it Tamasha? I guess not. Really, I don't really think so. It was almost like, this guy was ready to jump, and when somebody came and just gave that nudge, and I jumped. So I went to office the next day and resigned to follow my passion. Did I make the right move? I don't know. Have I made a mistake? I don't know. I looked down at my watch. I was still shaking. There were 2 minutes left to stage. Now I remember when I was standing there, just waiting for those 2 minutes to pass, the thoughts that were going on inside my head were thoughts about the first day of my startup. When I first went to a coffee shop, sat down, opened my laptop, and read my business plan. And the business plan was just one line saying, let's do something in the entertainment space. It was as bad as that. So I spent endless days sitting there from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. just writing, trying to write something which was of interest, which was funny. And I remember at that point of time, initially I would get calls from my friends. Then those calls stopped. I would get calls from my business partners. Then those stopped. It was days of just sitting there alone. I have never seen so much emptiness and loneliness in my life as I did in that phase, just sitting in a coffee shop, trying to make something out of nothing at all. In that phase, I met a comedian. And the first thing that I told the comedian was not how good he was. The first thing I told him was how good I am. Okay, and he was just polite to me. And he told me this one thing. He says, Anshu, comedy is a long road. Many don't make it big. And then the next day I went to see his act. It was in a lounge bar. There was a stage set up, perfect lighting, the mic was in place. He walked up, the crowd cheered. And then he set the room on fire. It was magical to see him just transform the dynamics of the room in that 1 hour he was on stage. I looked at him and I knew that I wanted this. That's the reason why I had left everything at my age. So 2 days later, I walked into the biggest comedy club in the country. And I walked in and I met the chief and I said, I want to be on stage. He looked at me with that look saying, are you mad? It doesn't happen like that. Go perform in open mics. You come back after a year. I said, no, I want to be on stage. This stage. No open mic records, no videos to show, nothing, no credentials. I think it was the sheer audacity of what I was telling him that he looked at me and he said, okay, do one thing. Come this Friday. I'll give you a 10-minute spot. Backstage, it was Friday. I was standing there and I was just wondering whether I have done it too soon now. Should I have gone to all these open mics to get the experience? There were 200 people in the room and I was getting up on stage for the first time. I looked down at my watch. 1 minute to stage. You know, the day I left my job, that day when I came back home, I was greeted by an excited wife. Okay, superbly excited wife. And an excited son. And an excited dog who had no idea why everybody was excited. But they were just so happy. There were things in the house that they had kept for me. There was this cake that a dear friend of mine had made, which said, welcome to Soho. Small office, home office. There were notes that they had put up. My wife had written notes for me. Right? My son had written notes for me, talking about how much they are with me on this initiative. In fact, the note that my son wrote, he even signed saying, your child, just to make sure. Right? And I looked at all of this, and I was like, these guys are backing me up like mad. You know, there are moments in life when all you need are cheerleaders in your life. That's all you need. And here was my team, my cheerleaders. They were backing me to the hill despite the fact that I had taken the biggest risk possible at this age. My son was about to go into college in a few years. We had EMIs to pay. We had a lifestyle that we had to sustain. And here I had taken that decision. My wife was in the crowd. My son was in the crowd. Most of my cheerleaders were in the crowd that day. And I knew that the moment I get up on stage, they'll be hoping and praying that they backed the right move. Just then, my name got announced. The music started to play. And I walked up on stage to do my 10 minutes. Here are the pictures from me on stage for the first time. As I opened up, the crowd laughed. For 10 minutes, they laughed. They cheered. They backed me up. I could see it in their eyes. They were like, yeah, we are with you. Go on. When I signed off my last final joke, the room erupted. I looked at my family and my wife sitting there, and they were beaming. I put the mic back on the stand, and from the deepest depth of my soul, this is what came out. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being a great audience. My name is Anshu Mor, and I'm a stand-up comedian. Thank you.